Hello, this is the chapter 6 synopsis. This is very short. It's a short chapter on the baby boomers. It says, hello, boomers, goodbye, prosperity. And so what they're getting at here is that the baby boomer generation is retiring. They're getting old. So there's a typo in the book. The typo says the baby boom generation is from 1948 to 1964. That's incorrect. The baby boom generation it comprises people born from 1946 to 1964. So after all the GIs came back from World War II, we had this huge baby boom. And so the baby boom generation started in 1946, after the war ended in 1945, and continued on until 1964. So you have this huge crush of people that is now, they've been retiring, but let's see, the youngest baby boomer would be 57, turning 58 this year. And so they're all, even the younger baby boomers, are getting to retirement age. So what this chapter talks about is how when the baby boomers entered the workforce at around the age of 16, this whole population was very productive, and gradually productivity increased for the next 30 to 40 years. But as these baby boomers start to retire, so basically what they're saying, this is on page 38, from the 1960s until about 2005, the baby boomers played a key role in fueling economic growth. Then they started to retire. So since 2005, fewer and fewer of these highly productive baby boomers have remained in the market. And they think that, the last baby boomers won't depart until 2030. So we can expect this decreased, according to the book, we can expect this decreased growth to persist until about 2030. Well, I would argue that with COVID, because this book obviously was written before COVID, we have seen what they call the great retirement, because a lot of baby boomers just said to heck with it when COVID hit. They didn't want to deal with all the changes resulting from COVID, and they decided this is a perfect time to retire. So you've had you wonder where have all the workers gone? And a lot of people were trying to blame the millennials and the XYZ generation, whatever, people 40 and under, they were trying to blame for not wanting to work, or the people in their 20s not wanting to work. But statistics have shown that it's actually the older Americans, it's the baby boomers, that the majority of people who left during COVID were baby boomers. So they may be out of there sooner than we think. This 2030 figure might not be correct, is the point that I make it. So anyway, the gist of this is that we're going to see the slower economic growth, supposedly, as baby boomers retire. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. You can, think about that and see if you agree with that. We do have increased technology that is helping to increase productivity. And so I don't know that I would give the baby boomers that much credit as far as the increased productivity, or that productivity will be that much lower as they leave. But the second part of this chapter talks about the impact on productivity and this tension between younger workers and older workers. And so you have these older workers, these babies. So basically the question is it more, are we worse off because the baby boomers are retiring, or are we better off? And by that, I mean, with the baby boomers retiring, a lot of knowledge goes with them. So you have people who have worked in a job or worked in an industry for decades and decades, and they have a lot of knowledge. So that's going by the wayside. But on the other side of the spectrum, the baby boomers are not as a general rule, to stereotype baby boomers, and I'm one of them, so I'll stereotype myself. Baby boomers are not real tech savvy. Older people are not up with the technology that younger people are. And so, you could argue that younger people can be a lot more productive because they can utilize the new technology and so forth. So the gist of the whole thing, the conclusion is basically you shouldn't just write off the baby boomers, because younger people really should take advantage of all that knowledge that the baby boomers have, and not discount baby boomers or older people in the workforce because they may not want to learn new things or may not be tech savvy, because they can pass on critical knowledge and they're preparing you to be the boss. So anyway, you can kind of think about, that whole issue of the older baby boomers, a lot of knowledge, but not a lot of technical expertise. Younger people, are they productive, or do they just not want to work? You hear in the media, they've tried to portray younger people as lazy, not wanting to work. I don't think that's true. I mean, I know a lot of younger people who are more than willing to work. And so I think it's a case of the older generation always looking down on the younger generation. That seems to, have been around since time for hundreds of years. But anyway, so this chapter is really short and just kind of tells you who the baby boomers are, what their ages are, what's happening with their retiring as far as economic growth. I think that's debatable. I would add the impact of COVID to the great retirement, and then the young versus old. And research has shown, here we say that old workers can complement one another. Young and old workers can complement one another, where the older worker passes on critical knowledge, and that makes the older worker more valuable to the employers. So, and also, we did, on the flip side of this, let me just end by saying this: COVID changed a lot of things and caused people to retire. But then on the flip side of that, a lot of people were healthier as a whole. We're healthier, we're living longer. A lot of people aren't ready to retire at age 62 or age 65. So there's a lot of people working into their 70s who are very productive. And so it's not a lock that you have to retire. And thankfully, because of the age discrimination laws, you can't discriminate against people based on age, or you're not supposed to. So they can't make you retire. Your employer cannot make you retire. So there are a lot of people who are working longer if you want to. So it's nice to have that freedom. If you can afford to retire and want to retire, fine. But a lot of people, they might retire from the primary job, but then finally want to go back to work. So you do see a lot of older people still working. Okay. Anyway, that's the chapter 6 on the baby boomers.